So I'm with the Managing Director of the AFD Group, David here of course. We're up here at Mountain View, where I love this room because it's just used for, well, it can be used for so many different purposes. But David, it's the things on the wall again we're going to be talking about, and what's on the roof. We talked to you how long ago when you planned
It's just over 2 years since the first solar array directly above us to the left here was commissioned. It was built and assembled in May. And then we had that wonderful June, you remember the June? And it was pumping out the volts and the amps. And here we are just after 2 years later. We've just about doubled the output now by using some of the other roofs at Mountain View.
Let's just come back a minute, because I remember that sentence you used 2 years ago, saying that on a very good day, you were over-generating and were dumping. And I've used that with politicians since. How on earth could this be the case?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it depends on how the sun shines, but of course the sun always shines much more up here in the north than it does anywhere else on the island. We have actually, although, in the northern latitudes we have less sun load than maybe the Sahara, but we still have good sun and we have clear air, and that helps the panels. And of course the panels are improving all the time. So in a great June day, you'll see way more than we can actually burn off internally. And that goes into the Manx grid. It's not a huge amount, and maybe more nuisance value to the MUA than anything else. They're acting as a bit of our sump, because we need it back at night and in December. But nevertheless, with the drive to be greener in our lives, you have to make small steps, and the things that you can do, you should do. And the fact that we're not creating enough electricity in December isn't a reason not to be creating more than enough in June. So at least we're reducing the carbon footprint overall.
Well, the MUA's gone out now, so they're looking for partners, aren't they, for big operations? Will that be you, will it?
Enormous. No, I mean, the specification for that would take fields to produce. And bigger batteries than exist anywhere in the world, if my calculations are right. I'm not an electronic engineer, but...
so this is actually it's an impossible dream.
They're talking about 20 megawatts. That's 20,000 consumer units. If you think about one unit on your meter at home, that's a kilowatt hour of electricity, and they're talking about 20 megawatt hours. That's a huge amount of battery capacity to store it or to generate it. And as I said, all forms of renewable technology at the moment tend to have good times and bad times. So wind turbines don't work at all when there's no wind. It's not often a problem on the island, but solar, of course, then it's dark, or in the winter the day length is much shorter. But nevertheless, we are creating, because we've got the roof real estate to put these on with hundreds of panels now. We've got 253 on the original array, slightly fewer on the new one we've just commissioned. But because in the 2 years the panel efficiency has improved by about 20%, the new array, although smaller, will be almost doubling our output.
So they're getting better. The costs are coming down still?
Costs are coming down, yeah. But what's really been good for us is we did the sums. We looked at the numbers really hard before we put the panels up, and we planned on an 8-year payback with a panel that's due to last for 20 years. So at 2 years we've got a good view of how that's working, and we think it's going to be about 6.5 years before it's paid for itself. And that's a good investment, especially if you've got money in the bank, because you don't get any interest, but by doing the right thing and generating and reducing carbon, we're actually also making a good economic decision. And when the economy aligns with doing the right thing, you've got a win-win situation. And when, at AFD we have this mantra that if we have a win-win-win business, everybody wins, and then it's a good product, it's a good service, the customers win, the suppliers win, and society wins as well.
Well, we've got so much more to talk about, so we're going to make this a two-parter. We'll be back in part 2.